a lovely day in the neighborhood. Well, it's nice to be here again, seriously. I want to just mention, by the way, you're doing a good job.
Thank you.
This is the first time?
Now it's the third.
That's okay. I now remember the first time I did it, my thumbprint is still on the podium. Spiritualism is still here. I have to say that because back in the 1920s or the 1930s, one of the professional mediums stated that during the 1960s, spiritualism will be either gone down or shrunken somewhere on the line. But I don't see that. I've served a lot of churches throughout the country, and I've seen people coming in. There's one place called the Wigwam in Boston, Massachusetts. It's shaped like a teepee. And that place was absolutely jammed. So people are very interested in this work in spiritualism and mediumship. I do a lot of public speaking outside at different places where you can ask questions from the podium. And people will bring up, how do you contact a spirit guide? Is it really a spirit guide? Of course it is. And you have different ideas on how to do it. But my guide says all you have to do is just think it. Because she's telling me, she said, you know, we know exactly what you're going to do, when you're going to do it, and how you're going to get there. And that's applicable to everyone. So your spirit guide is very important around you, especially now, the way the earth is changing so much. When I was a kid growing up, don't laugh, that wasn't too long ago, I almost died. And I didn't remember that for a long time, but lately my guide said, do you remember that day? I said, yeah. She said, guess what? I was there. I pulled you back. In 2019, I almost did the same thing, died. And my guide pulled me back. I think God said, we don't want him over here, he's trouble. But Spirit works that way. Now we're going into Memorial Day. And I want to bring up a couple of things that's kind of interesting. I had my picture taken for my book, The Medium Within. And I said, look, I don't need the picture. I don't want people to run away from the book. I want them to buy it. But they said, you need a picture so they know who you are. So anyways, this fellow was ready to retire as a photographer. And he allowed me to come in and have my picture taken for the cover. Well, we got talking because I was in the service. And my unit didn't go to Vietnam, but his unit was over in Vietnam. And he said, when I got off the helicopters, he said, we all scattered because there was incoming missiles and all kinds of fires coming at us. So everybody took cover. He said there was a log in front of me, about 2 feet away or so, and he ran for it and got it right in front of it. And all of a sudden, he heard this voice. Now, you got to remember there's nobody around. They heard this voice saying, get on the opposite side of that log. And for some reason he did it. As he did it, a mortar from a Viet Cong hit that same area he would have been in had he stayed in front of the log. So Spirit works that way. They're always working with us, and the problem we have as human beings is we put it out to coincidence. Everything is coincidental. There's no such thing as coincidence at all. It's Spirit coming in and telling you, do something, or at least look at it. I did a reading for this girl. She came in the house and I gave her a reading. She didn't say much about it. Left. A couple of days before Mother's Day, I get a knock on the door. It was the girl with a bouquet of flowers for me. I said, she said, Happy Mother's Day. I said, I don't think you got this wrong, really. Yeah. But it was very interesting because she gave it for my guide, who gave her the help she really needed. And that was really special to me, to know that my guide was helping her out. And I see things like that an awful lot. Back in Vietnam, one of the fellows I knew, he passed away since, but he was from the Onset Spiritualist Church in Massachusetts, where I was a student there. And he wouldn't speak to too many people, he kept it very quiet. But he was a good medium. But we used to go outside after the service and so forth and talk. And he said, "You want to know what happened?" I said, "Go ahead." He said, "I was in Vietnam. I was in charge of a platoon of troops. And the lieutenant said, you need to go into Vietnam woods, and there's a pathway, one going to the right, one going to the left. I want you to take the right-hand turn." He said, "Okay." So he took his platoon out, and there was another platoon in back of him about 30 minutes away. So he started down. When he gets to the road, something told him not to take the right, to take the left. And he was disobeying orders, but he took his platoon to the left and made it through. The platoon that was in back of him took the right and never came back. So Spirit really works if we listen. Very important. And I see that so many times. And it's interesting because they got me on Cocoa Beach Library. I'm up there every single month now. And when people come in, they have a chance of asking questions about spirit communication, is mediumship this and mediumship that, and some of the things that come up are very fascinating. It really is. A lot of them now are talking about their experiences where they haven't even said a word about that years ago. The other thing is interesting too, is that I've seen a lot more men come into the lectures, which is very interesting. Before the women used to come in, now the men have started to come in. And I did one library up there called the Century Vieira Library, and the first time I did it, I had 40 people there. So it's getting, so spiritualism, the concept of religion, the philosophy is still here. And like I said, that medium back in either the 1920 or 1930 claimed that things are going to disrupt it, it's going to go away. It's not going away at all, it's growing. Even in England, when I was in England, the place was jammed. The place was jammed. People really are interested in mediumship. And I do a lot of teaching on it, and I tell people very honestly, when you do a reading for somebody, it's between you and the individual. It doesn't go any further. I had a couple come into the house in Melbourne, and I was supposed to read for his wife. She sat on my right-hand side, and the gentleman sat in front of me. So I was reading for her, not you. I was reading for her, and all of a sudden going like this. Never did that before in my life. And my guy says, go to him. So I went to him. My guy said, tell him to get into the hospital right now. I didn't want to say it, but I did, because I believe in being honest with the clients. So I said, you have to get into the hospital. And he looked at me. They left, and I was very worried about it. 3 days later, I got a text from his wife. He had a triple bypass. Had he not listened to it, my guy said, he might not be here today. Now, the reason why I'm bringing that up is not because of me. It's because he gave me permission to use his name and what happened. Because he said, people have to know that spirit really works for people if you listen. So it's very important. And there's many, many cases like that, where people run it off as coincidence. As I said earlier, there's no such thing as coincidence. It's divine intervention. Each of us has a spirit guide with us. They're there. By the way, when you have a baby, the first thing they do is start crying. Now I couldn't figure out why my kids were crying. They said, am I on the earth? I don't want to be here. But they came here because God, the infinite Spirit, place a spirit guide or an angel with the individual to help them through life. Now the word angel really means messenger. They're the messenger. So when you get into a situation where you want to make up your mind of doing something, and I hear about this a lot, they want to get a new house, or they want to leave the community, or they want a new job, that's because their spirit guide is saying, this may be a good time to do it. It's really a good time to try it. And you're generally right. They really are. My guide has been right 100%. I give her the W-2 forms at the end of the year, but she's right at 100%. You can laugh, you know, it's okay, really. Right?
That's right.
There you go. If you don't tell, I won't tell. So, that's very important today. And I try to stress that because people today are having all kinds of issues, and they can understand now with the economy, the wars over here, the conflicts in your own community, kids going to school with knives and guns, and it's kind of crazy. So we need to depend on our spirit guide for protection. Like I said, they're always there on a 24-hour shift. My guide has a tendency of waking me up at 3 in the morning. I said, is that Greenwich Mean Time or what? But listen to what they say. Write it down if you have to, because a lot of this stuff is done at night when your body's relaxed. And they will come in and tell you certain things. So if you remember it in the morning, write it down, because it's very important. So before I get off the podium here, before she hits me, I want to wish everybody a great Memorial Day, and to the ones who serve for our country, who are not with us, a special blessing to them, and God bless America, a real home of the land and the free. Thank you.